Hey everyone, welcome to another live on the RDI channel. I am Pamela and I am very happy to be here again, bringing a theme about software quality. And today we will talk about, let's talk about JMeter. So before starting, please verify if you already have the subscription here on the channel. If not, please click on the red button below and be a new subscriber. So doing it, you will receive a lot of cool contents about technology. Okay? So let's start. So we have today six topics to cover. Is a lot of content to cover in 1 hour, but okay, we will talk about what is performance. Let me verify my sound before. Just a second. Okay, it's good. We will talk about what is performance, what is JMeter, how to install this tool, what is the structure of directory, how can we create a script, and how to execute it and collect the results. Okay, so um, what is performance? The definition is the performance test consists of evaluating of responsiveness, robustness, availability, reliability, and scalability of the application according to a number of simultaneous connections, evaluating its performance under a high workload and considering its behaviors under normal circumstances. What it is means? Using the JMeter and talking about performance, we can validate all the tasks, all the requests that are doing in the back end, okay? And verify the communication between the APIs. Verify if the responses and payloads are working properly and the API are receiving the right information, okay? Another part is, in particular, the purpose of such experiments may be to ensure that software does not present problems or unavailability in conditions of insufficient computational resources. What it means? For example, if I have an application that consuming a lot the memory, for example, we have two options, or we needed to redesign and improve the code to be more easy to process the informations, or we need one machine with a better spec, for example with high memory, high space in disk, and another things, okay? And using the performance, we can get the metrics of these components, okay? In this case, we can use the performance plugin to collect the information about CPU, about memory leak, and other things, okay? Also, I would like to talk about five types of scripts. I'd like to start talking about smoke, okay? The smoke is a basic script that we use to validate if the API or the service is running, is responsive. In this case, we execute this type of script um, almost 5 minutes. We need to expand to run this type of script, and we have the result verifying if the API is working or not. Also, we can verify in this small validation. We can verify if we have a big problem in the solution, and we can stop in this phase and verify what we can fix in this case. Okay. So moving to the other two types, load and stress scope. In this case, the load, we have a happy path scenario. talking about a website that we can buy many products, for example. We access Amazon, for example, and we click in one item, add on the cart, and go to the payment session, select the method that we want, and close and finish the sale, and go back to the first step. Okay, in this case it is a happy path scenario, and as a default delay value, we use the 8 seconds to include the delay between the requests. Okay, the requests I am saying about full scenario, all those scopes to a complete sale, for example. Okay. Talking about the stress test, we have the same scope, but the delay between the scenarios, we reduce this number to 4 seconds. Okay. Of course, we can change these values according to the project and according to the circumstance, but as a default process, the full value that we use it to all the projects is this number, 8 seconds to load test and 4 seconds to stress test. Okay. Another type is we have a spike type when we can simulate the routine of a restaurant, for example. In this case, we can thinking about that we have a lot of orders being a lot of sales being in the morning, being done in the morning, and another high number of orders in the lunchtime, and a high of number of sales in the dinner. Okay. In this case, we can simulate these waves using the spike scripts. Okay, but I forgot to say previous. But in talking about loading and the stress, we needed to run at least 1 hour of validation, because 1 hour to execute this script to collect a better results. Okay. Load and stress have 1 hour of duration. Talking about the spike, we needed to run during 12 hours to collect these results, to simulate these waves. Okay. And we also need to run during 12 hours the endurance type, the endurance script. But the endurance script, we have another type of scenario. Is one scenario, one more complex. For example, if I am on the Amazon and I select 3 items, and I access 3 or 4 menus, and after that I go to the payment session, and after that I go back to another menu to select another item, and after that I go back to the payment session to finish my sale. Okay, to conclude my sale. In this case, it is a very complex scenario that we can validate in the endurance. Okay, and also one more time, we executed this type of script during 12 hours. Okay, so moving to the next topic, about JMeter. What is this tool, right? What is this tool? If we access the page of JMeter, let me click here. We have the field, the link to download the binary package, and also we have a good documentation here to learn about how to, for example, how many protocols, how many application servers we can validate or we can use here. How can we apply the JMeter, and also we have the documentation about each functionals of JMeter. Okay, talking about thread group and assertions and listeners and other things that we will talk later. Okay, so go back to the presentation. Here we have two types of application of JMeter. Okay, before to talk about these examples, I would like to reinforce that JMeter, talking about functional tests, we don't use JMeter to validate anything in the UI, anything in the screen. For example, I would like to verify if this button is displayed. No, it's not the proposal of JMeter. JMeter is more to validate the performance of application, and also we can use the JMeter to automate many validations when we are talking about API, to validate the response, to validate the payload, to validate the JSON structure that the API return. Okay, in these cases we can use the JMeter. So we can use the JMeter running locally in our machine to identify these problems and to create the scripts. But also we can use the JMeter to execute these requests from one main machine, that it is the case, right? We can use the JMeter here to orchestrate the requests between the machines. For example, here we have the main machine doing these requests, and other machines are executing or are generating the response that is needed. Okay. Also, this machine can collect the results about performance of CPU, memory, and other things related to the hardware. Okay. So in this case, it's not necessary to install the JMeter in another machines. We just needed to install the JMeter in the server, okay, or in main machine. So another example is we have a main machine here doing the requests, and we have the intermediary machines processing these requests and send. This is a common flow when we are talking about websites. Okay, the websites using this type of validation when we are talking about performance. Okay. Moving to how to install this tool is basic, but we have some requirements to attend before to download the JMeter. Okay, we needed to have the Node.js 8 or higher, version 8 or higher. And talking about Java runtime, we needed to have the version 8 or higher. Okay. If we attend these requirements, basically we needed to download the package from the page that I shown previously, and extract the files to another folder. Okay, you can decide what is the folder that you will use to storage the JMeter binary. Okay. So, how we can start the JMeter UI, okay? If we are talking about Windows, we will start the JMeter UI using the jmeter.bat5. If we are talking about Linux or Mac, for example, we will use the jmeter.sh, okay? And when we start these files, when we execute these files, we have this UI being displayed in your machine, okay, in your computer. It's very easy to understand the proposal of each buttons here, but we can discuss better later, okay, in the demo session. But basically here we have a button to create a new file. Here we have the button to save your changes. Here we have a button to start the execution of your script. Here is the buttons when we already have a data generated in your script. We can clear these informations. Okay, and also, for example, oh, I don't know what is test plan. When we click in this book, we open a page inside the JMeter documentation, and we will have the information about what is the test plan. The same thing happen when we are talking about samplers, thread group, and another things related to the JMeter. Okay, I will do this process when we execute the demo. Okay. So, talking about directory and scripts. Basically, this is the main folder. And to start the JMeter, we have a lot of folders here, but I will not talk in detail about all these folders today. But the most important folder is the bin, the binary folder. Okay, and inside this folder we can find the the batch folder to start when we are talking about Windows, and the file to start the JMeter using the Mac and Linux. Okay. So here we have another three folders. Okay, and here we have some samples of scripts when we are talking about sorry, let me verify if the video, yeah, is working. So we have the folder with samples as examples. For example, the samples of scripts that we can use as base to create a new one. Here we have a template of reports that we will generate. Okay, and here we have the template to to execute to execute one more script at the same time. Okay, so sorry, yeah. Now I will talk about each part, each elements of the JMeter. Okay. So we will cover the test plan, thread group, configuration element, controllers, samplers, timers, assertions, and listeners. Okay. So in this case, let me change the screen here. So the structure of script, starting with test plan, it is a field that we inform the name of test script. For example, if I want to create a load script or a stress script or endurance script, this is the field that I will put a name to identify better when I open the script. Okay, for example, I have a lot of scripts in one folder, but in the name of the file, I can identify what is the proposal of these scripts. Okay, moving to the thread group. So it is a field that we must configure the sequence of executions and how many times we want to run the script. Okay, in this case we can configure if we want to run the requests during a period. For example, I'd like to run these scripts during 1 hour, or I can change the type of execution to how many times I want to execute this request. For example, 100, 200, 300. Okay, I can configure this information in this function. Okay. Um, so today we will work with thread groups, but we have a lot of types of thread groups. We will use the basic thread groups, but we have a lot of types of thread groups to storage these functions. Okay. Moving to configuration elements, inside the user defined, for example, the user defined variables is a configuration element. Inside this type of configuration element, we can configure all the information that we will repeat the execution or repeat the call during the execution, okay, during the script. For example, I need to do I need to call uh, I need to execute the same request to different menus. Okay, for example, in the Amazon, I have the tab related to the electronics, to the house, um, uh, to clothes, to many things. Okay, and in this case, I can configure the main part of the request, for example, the protocol, HTTPS, the main part, the host of this request, for example, Amazon.com, and I just put later the information about the request. For example, about the item that I would like to call. For example, the menu called home. My full request will be HTTPS plus Amazon.com slash slash home slash electronics slash clouds. Okay, in this case we have this difference, but what I mean is the information about protocol, the information about host, we can put as a variable. Okay, we can configure it as a variable. um, so another types of configuration elements is header manager. Okay, the header manager is a type of configuration elements that we storage the informations that is necessary to do this call, but is not related to the path, to the URL that we will call. Is related to the information that we needed to insert in this header. Okay, I will share, I will show later in the demo session what is these informations. Okay, so another type is the cookie manager. Okay, in this case, for example, if I am validating the Amazon or Tienda or other sites or other websites, and I would like to clean the cookie information every interaction that I am doing. Okay, in this case, I include this type of configuration element to clear this information every time. Okay, every time, every request that I do, the this configuration element will clean this information. Okay, so the same thing we can apply using the cache manager, and in this case we clean the information about cache. And for example, if I have a site that I needed to put a credentials, or I needed to inform my user my password. In this case, we have a configuration element called authorization manager. Okay, and in this case, we include our credentials, and every time that the request will do, they get the information about credentials to include before the execution, and clear this information after the cycle. Okay, so talking about controllers. Okay, the controllers is responsible to execute, to a grouping the scenarios that I would like to execute. Okay, for example, I have many APIs, but I can executing using the same interaction, the same user interaction. For example, I would like to run all the scenarios using 4 users, and executing 200 and executed during uh, during 1 hour or 12 hours, or I can put one specific information about how many quantities I would like to do these requests. And in this case, um, the controller related to this is the recording controller. Okay, in this case, we will use the recording controller to storage the actions, but the thread group will be the box that will define how many times we will execute this thread. Okay, basically, to sum up this subject, this type of function, controller is responsible to guarantee that the flow of steps is executing properly. Okay, so moving to the samplers. Okay, in our demo we will use the sampler called HTTP request. Okay, in this case we will validate many things related to uh, API requests, related to the response, validating the response code, validating the response message, the response text, and I will show to you how we can validate when we receive a JSON as a response. Okay, is a very interesting point. So moving to the next, we have the timers. Okay, I will bring two types of timers. Okay, the first one is the think time, when we configure one specific delay to be executed after all the steps of scenario. For example, using the example that I said related to the Amazon, I select an item, I go to the payment session, I select the method, and I finish the sale, and I go back to the first step. Okay? In this case, this delay, think time, will just apply the delay after, in the end of the scenario. All the steps executing during the scenario don't have delay. Okay? But if I need this type of delay, I will add a function called think times to children. Okay. In this case, we have the opportunity to add a different delays between the steps. Okay, and I am talking about, for example, in the first step, I need to put a delay of 2 seconds after the first step, and after the second, I need to put 4 seconds of delay. Using the think times to children, we are able to do it. Okay. So moving to assertions. Okay. So today we will talk about four types of assertions. Okay, four ways, but using two types of assertions. Okay, but I will talk more later. But basically, for example, if I would like to validate the response code, the response message or text, we can use this function from JMeter to validate it. Okay, and in this case, this type of assertion, we can use the JMeter as automation tool to validate the APIs. Okay, and the last one is the listeners. Okay, we have a lot of type of listeners, but the most important listener is the executive summary. And in this case, we have the average time, the 90 percentile, the 95%, the 99 percentile. We have percentage of errors. We have how many times, how many times this request was done, sorry, and we have an overview of those informations. So we have the three results type of listener, and in this case we just have the icon displaying that the request was done successfully or not. Okay, I will show to you. And in this case, we have specific listeners to validate and to create a graphs related to the CPU metrics, to memory metrics. Is a very interesting point. Okay, so let me move to the next one. Yeah. So now I will close the. Oh, I'm in the end of presentation. Sorry. Let me move it to the presentation here. Yeah. So let me open the JMeter. Okay. Okay. Let me verify the chat in the YouTube. Just a moment. Okay. Okay. So in this case, let me verify here. Okay. No questions on the meeting chat. Thank you, Ari. Thank you, Ari, to watching, to be here with us today. Um, so here is the JMeter UI. Okay. So I will create a basic structure of a script, and after we will include the information that we want. Okay. So first I will add a thread group. Okay. Here I will add the recording controller. After that, I will add a sampler HTTP request. I will add two types of samplers. Okay. Sorry. Here, two types. No two types, but I will show to you two two validations, two types of requests. Okay, but using the semi sampler. Okay. In this recording controller, I will put view results tree listener. I will include the aggregate report. I will add the, let me verify if I need another one. I will show the difference between both. Okay. And I will add some listeners related to perfume. Okay. So related to the perfume, here is the place that we will add what which metrics, which points we need to collect the metrics. Okay. um to that, let me verify here. Just a moment. Let me verify if I have the server agent. Yeah. So in this case, another point is to run the perfume metrics. We need to have the server agent of perfume. Okay. In this case, it's very basic. If follow the same process to start that we use to JMeter. Okay. In this case, we use dot batch to start in the Windows, and .sh to start in the Linux and Mac. Okay. I will start here just to use it later. Okay. Yep. So in this case, the first step is include the name, the proposal of this script. Okay. My proposal here is a smoke test to validate Google. Okay. So here we can include something to change the thread group name. we can put one chip related to what we are validating here. Okay, in this case we will do get method methods, and here in the store controller I will verify um, the website, and searching something. Okay, for example, sorry, yeah, now is correct. So, for example, if I am working in one project that I have many scenarios, and I have one specific ID for each scenario, okay? In this case, I can put here on the comments this information, the ID, for example, ID 1 or 2 or or no or and, okay? We can include all the necessary information to understand the proposal of tests in the comment as well. Okay, so here is our first request. Okay, um, let me open here. To create a script on JMeter, we needed to work with debug console opened. Okay, in this case, I press F12 on my keyboard. Okay, and this console is enabled. Okay, I click on the network tab to have these metrics or this information displaying here. Okay, and I will access the Google. Okay, in this case, yeah. So many informations are being logged here. Okay, but the first one that I'd like to see is the access on the site. Okay, clicking here and clicking in headers. Okay, I can verify what is the URL request. I can identify what was the method used, what was the status code that returned. Okay, and other informations. For example, if to run this type of requests, I needed to include a configuration element. Okay, header manager, for example. Hey Pamela, I needed to include the informations of header. Okay, we can include we can find these informations in the session called requests headers. Okay, and in this case, for example, I needed to include all those informations here. Okay, so I will select, I will copy, and I will click here, add from clipboard. Okay, and all the informations will be populated here. Okay, will be inserted here. Okay, but to this request, we don't need to do nothing. Okay, to include nothing here. Okay, in this case, we click with the right button of the mouse and remove this configuration element. But for example, Pamela, I would like to clear cookie informations every request, every interaction. So in this case, we select config elements, clicking the cookie manager, and select this option, clear cookies each interaction. Okay, it's basic, but it's not our case today. In this case, I will remove. So I would like to remove the cache informations. In this case, the same thing that we do to the cookie information, we can apply here to the cache information. Clear cache each interaction, okay? But again, it's not our case. So, uh, okay, okay. Moving to this sampler, okay? Now we know that to access Google, to verify if the Google is available, for example, because I am not talking about the screen, okay? I am talking about the API. If the API not, but the backend tasks, okay? I'd like to verify if the Google is available, okay? The API of Google is available. In this case, I will copy this URL, okay? And I will put here. Okay, the method we have a lot of method to select here, but I will put the same information that we can find here. Request method. Okay, the same information that display here is the information that we need to replicate on the JMeter. Okay, so let's try to execute just this one request. Okay, so clicking on the request that is enabled, we can disable this request to validate one by one. Okay, so here I have the request, I have the method, and what we can do, we can start, but before to do it, we need to configure how many times, what is the duration that we want to run this script. Okay, in this case, this information we change or we update on the thread group field. Okay, so the numbers of users, for example, if I would like to have 5 users doing this request at the same time, okay, I can configure here, change to 34, change to 20, change to 80, okay, but today we will use just one user. Okay, this is the field that I said to you. Okay, we can put infinite, the script will run infinite. Okay, infinity, or we can put how many times we want to run this script. In this case, I will put 5 here, same user on each interaction. In this case, I will use the same user. Okay, is a very clear the message in this box. Okay, but for example, no, Pamela, I don't want to run using the information how many times I want to run this script. I would like to put the information about time. I would like to run during 5 minutes, for example. So in this case, we will put this information here, but we needed to think that here we needed to include the seconds, the time using the seconds information, the seconds format. Okay, in this case, 5 minutes converting to seconds is 300 seconds, right? So if I want to run during 1 hour, is 3600 seconds. Okay, in your case, I will not using this type of execution, and I will put here 5 times to run. Okay, to execute this request 5 times. Okay, so my view results tree is empty, my aggregate report as well, my summary report as well, and the performance metrics, performance metrics, I don't configure yet. In this case, I include the CPU verification, and I will add one more about memory. Okay. Okay. So, but before to run the script, we need to save the script because the JMeter don't accept run the script before this action. Okay. In this case, I will click here on the save. I will click on the Apache and I will put demo. The format of the JMeter script, the type of file is JMX. Okay. Saving this file, we can start. Here in the top, we can verify how much time was expended to run, okay, this requests. In this case, we have 3 seconds to run five requests, okay. If we access the view tree results, we just have this view, okay, that we have success for each request. If we move it to the aggregate report, we can verify how many times this request was executed, the average time, the average value, okay. In this case, we have this information as milliseconds, okay. The median, the 90th percentile value, the 95th percentile, and the 99th percentile. Here we have the minimum value of one request expanded to run to do this request, and here the maximum. Here we have the view about how many times an error occurred. In your case, no time. Okay. In this case, we have the throughput and another information that can be used or not. Okay. So the summary report have the same data, but here we don't have the information about 90%, 95%, and 99%. According your project, you will choose what is the best report to use in your validation. Okay. So moving to the performance metrics. Okay, the weighting samplers. Let me verify if we have some problems. Yeah, I believe that I have some problems in my agent of perfume. Okay, let me try again. Yeah, I have a problem with my perfume. I don't know what is happening now, but basically the one graph will be generated here, and the information about CPU and memory will be displayed. Okay. In this case, we are using just one graph to populate both informations. Okay. So let me verify. Yeah, we need to show here more two things. Okay. The first one is related to the assertions. Okay. And here I will put the response assertion. I will include the code, the response code needed to be equals, and here I will add the value. Okay. And I will include another assertion related to the response assertion is the response message. Okay. And in this case it needed to be okay and needed to be equals. Okay. Here is case sensitive. We need to put the same information that we find here. Okay. Let me verify. Okay, I believe that here we don't have this information, but probably will be generated. Okay, yeah. Okay, let's try to execute this script. Okay, yeah. I didn't save the my changes. Let me try to execute again. Okay, okay. They are validating this information, response code, and the response message as well. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, this error here is related to my server that is not connected on the JMeter. Okay, it's not problem with my execution. Um, okay. This is the part that we use to validate the response code and response message. Another point is the assertion called JSON assertion. Okay, in this case, we need to include this type of validation if we would like to validate one specific thing. Okay, in this case, for example, if a JSON is returned in my from my API, and I would like to validate if inside this list we have the value called reference, or I have the price displaying 8.95, for example. Okay, in this case, in my assertion, I needed to put the path here. Okay, I start with the symbol dollar. Okay, adding the dictionary that I will access. Okay, for example, here I needed to put store dot book, and here I'd like to access my list. Okay, and I will request that they validate for example reference value. Okay, dot, I believe is it, reference. Okay, or not. Just a second, guys. Let me validate here. It's a very important point, because we are not safe to don't include a wrong information, but we need to verify if what we are talking is right. Okay, so, and in this case, for example, I I enter on the book. Okay, and I don't need to include any value here. Okay, for this validation, let me change here. Okay, and for example, I needed to include here dot and include reference. It's not reference. My value here is category. Okay, in this case I put category here, and for example, the script will verify if this information exists. Okay, but for example, I would like to add additional assert, because I would like to validate if reference is the value that I am generating after my request. So I copy here and I paste here. Okay, but in this case my script will not work, because Google don't generate this type of response to us. Okay, it's just to explaining how to include this type of of assertion in your script. Okay, so yeah, I believe it is that. I would like to cover one more thing, but is I need more time to explain the second request. We can have another section to show this type of validation. Okay, but I would like to I would like to request that if anyone have some questions or some doubts after the live, for example, please comment here on the video, and I will try to answer. Okay. So I am verifying here. We don't have any questions on the chat. Okay. Let me change my screen here. So I believe is that. Okay. Um, if anyone have some doubts or some other interesting topic to present, please put here, including the comments, and we'll work to do a session about it. Okay. So is that it's all. Thanks a lot for joining us today to access this live. Was amazing. Was amazing. Have a nice day, guys. See you. Bye.